Starting with politics, and we are taking you to Anambra, southeast Nigeria. The state chapter of the People's Democratic Party, PDP's scrutiny committee has cleared its candidates in the November 6, 2021 governorship election, Valentine Ezigbo, for the party 2023 senatorial primary election. According to reports by the five-man screening committee, Uche Ekwenife and Stella Odua, both serving senators, were also cleared. Other aspirants cleared for the primary are Chris Uba, Tony Nwoye, John Emeka, and Obina Uzo, with Chuma Nzeribe, the only aspirant disqualified from the lists of 9. Jide, what's so spectacular about this Anambra senatorial district election?
The Anambra, in Anambra State, the PDP always does well in the national elections. But when it comes to House of Assembly and the governorship election, it is ABGA. It is ABGA or nothing. Now, what you will see, and that happens every election year, is a situation in which politicians defect from other parties to the PDP. Because they believe that the PDP
That's the vehicle.
has a stronger national platform in that state. They have a history of winning the national elections, dominating national elections in that state. They will win the presidential election, they will win the House of Reps and the Senate. That's in Anambra every electoral cycle. So we've seen the former Minister of Aviation,
Who was
Stella Odua, move from APC because she's the senator, representing her constituency currently. She wants to return.
so quietly.
She had defected to the APC for reasons best known to her. Some people said maybe so that she could be left alone and all that. All this politics. Now, sensing that the APC will not win in that state, after she defected, she has now gone to the PDP because that represents a much stronger. That was the day she defected.
She defected. And it was just recent.
Just a matter of months. That's why we keep saying this idea of defecting. We have to find a way to banish this nonsense from our political landscape. It's just too much. Now, in the same Anambra State, you have Senator Ifeanyi Uba is of the YPP.
Yes.
He is on ground.
Yes.
He's strong.
Winning his own senatorial district with that party.
He is strong.
Something that is remarkable.
The only thing that may work against him now is the issue of zoning, because people feel that Unewi and Agwata, they've had
no fair share.
Yes, that it should be the turn of Ihiala this time around. So maybe that could work against.
Is Uba back? Is Uba back to the PDP now, or is still a YPP senator?
No, he's still in YPP.
Okay.
I'm saying that he's on ground. He's popular. He's strong. But we don't know whether this zoning that is being talked about could affect him, given that Nnewi, where he comes from, and Agwata, they've had their fair share of representing the that particular zone. So maybe it's going to have issues. Then Chris Uba, remember Chris Uba?
Andy Uba.
Yes, Chris Uba is also in the senatorial race for PDP South, representing. I mean, he wants to come out for PDP South. Stella Odua will be coming out from Anambra North. So Chuma Nzeribe was the person who was disqualified because he was said to have jumped bail. The party said that he did not even did not come clean to the party, and then it was discovered that he had jumped bail, which is not something. I mean, it does not dignify anybody to join.
Affect the party.
So he has been disqualified. But we still have Valentine Ozigbo.
Yes.
Is from Aguata.
He put up a good show in the last governorship election.
Yes, he's in the race. And then the ever-present Uche Ekunife. She's also
strong woman.
grassroots woman. She's contesting. So it's always interesting, the national elections in Anambra. I like the nature of the politics in that state, because when it comes to the domestic contest, we all know it's very predictable that Abga will dominate things. But when it comes to the national Assembly presidential, it's always the PDP that does well.
Mayor, looking at this dynamic, this is quite spectacular, because I don't quite understand why Senator Stella Odua, that during the day that she joined APC in the full glare and everything, less than some months. And
the reason is simple. PDP, Anambra used to be a PDP state. It was Ojukwu's influence that was able to switch it to APGA. So PDP is on ground in Anambra State. And Anambra State has this problem of godfathers. You know, there are political gladiators, each one very strong in his own geopolitical zone. And they seem to have a lot of warlords, in quote, here and there. So it's easy for them. A lot of billionaires. Yes, it's easy for them to be able to win senatorial election. APGA, because of the Ojukwu factor, have more grassroots support. But by the time you extend from the immediate community to the senatorial zone, the PDP have that influence, because, like I said, they have a lot of warlords who are in every place. Stella Odua, why Stella Odua left initially was the EFCC problem. You know, she had this issue about when she was Minister of Aviation, and she still had those cases. So I presume that she must have left to APC to be able to have maybe like a cover. But election is coming now. There is need for her to look for that vehicle that will make her realize her dream. And stands a better chance.
Can't realize it through that APC.
Yeah, that's what she believes. She believes that maybe APC will not be able to, because APC is the real party.
In the Southeast, no.
But APC is not very strong in the Southeast. That is the reality. APC is not very strong in the Southeast.
They are not strong, sir.
But you see, but PDP is going to be very interesting, because a lot of heavyweights are there. You know, if you know Chuma, why Chuma used to be the strong man. You know, during the first time of when Igege was governor, and Chris Uba and others were those who put him there. Remember when they locked him up in a toilet and all that? Chuma was like the Adedibu of Anambra politics then. You know, tough guy that used to, Mr. Fix-It, that used to do a lot of things, but he was also involved in different things outside politics. So he has always had issues of police and court and all that. So I know that no party will want right now to put Chuma in front to contest for them. So it's going to be very interesting in that primary, because a lot of them are warlords, and there is usually a lot of violence when they do their primaries. A lot of violence.
Jide, the month of May is going to be a decision month for APC and PDP and all political parties. And the way we are going to have this in succession is this same month we have the House of Assembly election, primary election, the House of Representative primary election across all political parties, and the Senate, governorship, and it will now culminate to the presidential primary. So it's a very, very interesting month.
Yes, it's a very pivotal month for the parties. If they get their primaries right, then the course will be clear for them in the election. If the primaries are characterized by so much rancor, so much bad blood, violence and all that, it would affect them in the election, because a divided house going into an election is certain to lose. So they know that they must find a way to conduct those primaries in a manner that leaves everyone happy, or at least leaves an overwhelming majority of the people happy, since it's impossible to please everybody. So now the issue of zoning is what the two parties have to grapple with, both in the PDP and in the APC. Is a serious emotive issue as we speak. Because when you look at a state like Enugu, the former Deputy Senate President is bent on contesting.
Yeah.
But he's been told that, look, this
It's
issue
not
of
the turn
zoning.
your,
No, they are saying no, this time it
Ekweremadu.
has to go elsewhere. Whether Ekweremadu will agree or not, nobody knows. Whether the governor will eventually take things easy along with other party members and allow zoning to be sidetracked in favor of Ekweremadu, no one knows. But they know that they must get it right. Otherwise, it will hurt their party. So we are waiting to see what will happen in the month of October. I mean, May. It's a very, very pivotal month for the APC and for the PDP.
Now, a voice of hope from foreign land regarding the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria's northeast. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who was in Maiduguri, Borno State's capital, to visit rehabilitation center victims of insurgency and internally displaced persons camp, said Boko Haram will soon disappear. The UN scribe said the insurgents have already been weakened. Mayor,
I don't agree with him. I don't agree with him at all. But it's a very, very welcome development that the Secretary General comes, because what he does is that he will be able to channel funds to the IDP camps. You know, basically that is the significance of his visit, to be able to see for himself. You understand? Because he was moving around too, and then try to look at how the response. You know, because part of the problem of the Russia-Ukraine war is that it's a major event now in Europe, and it's eating deep into the budget for other IDP camps that they've been funding, and they are trying to convince other countries to be able to contribute more to that pool. So it's important for the Secretary General, to deem it fit, to come to us to be able to see for himself the state of our IDP camps, and that will be able to afford us to be able to get more funding for that. Yes, I agree that we have made significant progress in the Northeast. There's no doubt about that, for different reasons. The terrorists are not as strong as they used to be. But for us to say that they will soon be a thing of the past and they will be weakened is optimism that all of us pray that it should be so. But I don't think that is the reality on ground.
Jude, I think as Secretary General of the United Nations, you might have gotten a kind of security briefing.
No, I think that some of what he was told when he went there indicates clearly that Boko Haram is dying. Some of them are moving up. They are moving to the northwest. They are moving to the north central. They are really, really facing hell. Their attacks have gone down drastically. Although we must not be complacent, we must not deceive ourselves that, oh, the end has come. Boko Haram will certainly die at some point. It will come to an end at some point. In my view, given this progress that we have made, the Tucanos, the unmanned area vehicles, they are doing a tremendous job in the Northeast. I just returned from the Northeast a couple of days back. I'm from Maiduguri. And I can tell you that, look, the place is safer. The reports, the usual constant reports of attacks on military bases and all that have gone down. Even attacks on civilian populations have gone down. But at the same time, we have to bear in mind that it's an insurgency, and by the nature of insurgencies, you cannot simply come to a conclusion that, oh, those guys, that they will soon disappear. ASUU, just some days back, killed 8 villagers in a village called Kaltihari near Chibok. They also destroyed a military base that was there. They set it ablaze, a small military base that was there. So, and even as we speak, there are still some people unaccounted for in that attack. Yes, that you could say that attack is something that just happened against the grain. We had not been hearing of this kind of attacks for some time, but suddenly this one happened. It should tell us that we have to be more, we have to be very, very determined. We have to be vigilant, because we are dealing with an enemy that is dangerous. I'm happy with the visit of the UN Secretary General, because she also talked about the need for the IDP camps and the camps of even the boys who have what do we call them? The so-called repented terrorists. He visited their camp as well. You know, so he is of the view that we need to provide more incentive and make the humanitarian, the camps more conducive. Humanitarian workers in Borno State will tell you that, look, yes, the governor is relocating people to their villages because of improved security, but they will tell you that it is not safe yet to send every IDP back to their... You can relocate to some, but certainly not all. And the fear of these guys remains. It's not as if that the threat posed by them has been obliterated. Yes, we have made tremendous improvement. We have to admit that. But the enemy remains. The enemy remains dangerous, and we have to just keep working hard until victory, the definitive victory, is attained.
Mayor, when you now look at it, ultimately, because the strength of the Nigerian military, and they've been over time, and from what we're seeing now, so for the UN to talk like that, that means there's a kind of a considerable improvement.
Yes.
But some will be of the opinion that these guys, they've left that region.
That's the thing. We have to ask ourselves the question. A lot of factors accounted for what is happening in the Northeast. One, ISWAP is still very strong, but Boko Haram faction, led by Shekau, is not as strong as it used to be, for different reasons. You know, when you lose the head of a group, when you lose the head, and a lot of the commanders don't want to go to ISWAP because they will not be in the kind of position they used to be. A lot of them have moved away and moved into banditry. Some of these people, some of these bandits that is terrorizing the Northwest and the North Central, some of them are remnants of Boko Haram. Second, because of the better equipment, we'll be able to fight to them. So a lot of them, you know, they have moved away and all that. But the problem with insurgency is that the theater of war is not defined. It's not defined. Because it is not defined, after some time, you will overpower them, they will melt into different hills and places, and then they will regroup and start attacking you again. You understand? So that's why it takes a long time. Even superpowers like America could not defeat it in Afghanistan for a long time. You know, because the theater of war is not defined. So it's not as if they are in this territory, immediately you take that territory and dominate that territory, they are gone. No. They are highly mobile. So it takes time. You destroy their infrastructure. They lie low for some time, try to regroup, and then they come back again. But we have done relatively well. And we hope that, but yes, it is good for us to believe that they will disappear, but they have not disappeared. They are still there. It's just that latent.
You said something on Sunday. You were talking about the infighting between these people. That's responsible for even reduction in the activity that they are facing. The ISWAP guys are facing the Shekau guys head on now.
Yes, the Shekau guys too are killing them. It's not the way it is. It's not as if all the time it's ISWAP that is gaining upper hand. What Abu Musab Banawi did to Shekau by taking his men to go and surround his base, and Shekau felt that, look, Ikuya Jesenlo, it's better I take my own life. He used the suicide belt to kill himself. Then Shekau's loyalists, some of who fled to northern Cameroon, came back and took the battle to Abu Musab al-Banawi's base and shot him. He died from the injury that he sustained.
Abanawi?
Yes, al-Banawi is gone. He died from the injury that he sustained. So
there's infighting between
they
these.
constantly, even till last week, they still attack one another inside the Sambisa camp.
So they are making the work easy for us.
ISWAP wanted to take control of the Sambisa forest because that's where Shekau occupied for some time. If you have control of Sambisa forest, it's like you have everything. It's so big, it's so difficult to track you down. But as ISWAP on its own, they were largely holed up in the islands of Lake Chad and the area called Timbuktu Triangle. Some parts of Damboa, and some, yes, they are strongholds over a long time. Ajigi, all of those places that they've held on to for some time. So now, since they've kept themselves busy by killing one another, fighting one another, trying to gain control, it plays into the hands of the military because the military will be happy where they are now that, look, we found a way to sow seeds of discord among these people, and they're killing one another. The military didn't have to kill Shekau. It's the Albanawi people that killed him. The military didn't have to kill Albanawi. They've been chasing him for years. It's the Shekau people that took his life. So all of these things, they are in disarray, but you know they are also determined. So it's not as if they've given up at all. I just gave this example of what happened near Chibok. You will expect that, why are they still killing people in Chibok? So even after those two leaders were killed, they've still carried out some attacks. So we cannot relent. We should just continue, let the investment in weapons for the military continue. Let the intelligence gathering assets be activated. Let them continue to get information that can be useful in dealing with these guys. And then even their infiltration of other parts of the country. We don't want them to continue to spread their tentacles to other parts of the country. We also need to find a way to stop that. If we saw them, they moved to Niger State, we didn't stop them. And from Niger now, they've moved to the northwest and some parts of Abuja, the FCT. That's places like Abaji and all that. So we just need to work harder to leave them, confine them to that area where they are and obliterate them in the final analysis.
Yeah. All right. Who is afraid of zoning? Is the big question in Nigeria now as the country gets closer to the 2023 presidential election. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Army, Senator Alin Dume, has joined the Ondo State Governor, Rotimi Akeredolu, to call on the All Progressive Congress, APC, to zone the 2023 presidency to the South in the spirit of equity and fairness. Senator Ndume said the North will benefit more if the next president comes from the South. We started this series yesterday, and Governor Rotimi Akeredolu saying that, look, it's in the interest of the APC.
So the party should talk.
Yes, the party should speak up.
Don't keep everybody waiting.
I remember the Minister of Works, Babatunde Raji Fashola, said at a point in time that there's this gentleman agreement within the APC when the founding fathers came together that there's going to be power sharing, North and South, that it's time for the South to, So this thing is brewing and we're moving up to the primary election. Don't you think it's too late in the day to start these debates? They're selling nomination form by Saturday for APC. The sales of nomination form and interest form will be closed.
Whatever it is, if the party makes up its mind that they are going south, nothing will stop it. Even as late in the day as it seems. people who have bought forms, they can refund their money. There's no big deal about that. If the party actually feels strongly that, yes, we need to let power go to the South, they can do it. It's just a matter of taking that decision. You know? It's what the NWC could do. But the way it is now, we are playing politics, and some people appear to value politics, playing politics, more than even the unity of our country. Because at the end of it, look at what Ndume is saying. He said, I have nothing against Ahmad Lawan. He's my colleague. But I have everything against injustice. Fielding a northerner is tantamount to injustice and tantamount to third term. The so-called northern leaders that are pushing for it are doing so to perpetuate injustice. This is what Ali Ndume said to, yes, this is what he said to, I think, Daily Trust, when they interviewed him. Everyone talks about the fact that the party, that there's that gentleman's agreement. And Ali Ndume said it, that look, that was why when Buhari was going to contest, nobody from the Southwest, for example, got up. I think from the Southwest here, the preponderance of opinion was, look, this thing had to go to the North. And Muhammadu Buhari was the overwhelming choice of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and other leaders of the party at that time. So no Southwesterner, for example, got up to say, okay, I'm contesting against Buhari. Yes, what's his name? Okorocha got up to contest. But of course, the people rejected him. They rejected him.
Already purchased a reform to go back as governor of Imo State in one breath and bought the presidential district.
Yes, we contested. He contested against the president.
Yes.
But he was well beaten because he was rejected. One of the mentees of the president at that time, the late publisher of Sam Isaiah, the publisher of Leadership, he contested against the president. And the votes he recorded will suggest to us that he didn't even take part in the contest. Because that was the definition of not taking part in the contest. So the point that Ndume is making is, look, federal character is in the Constitution. Zoning itself derives from federal character principle. The federal character principle is enshrined in the Constitution, and zoning is a derivative of the federal character principle. So he sees nothing wrong in having a power move to the South. That way, we are building a cohesive nation. But some people don't see it like this. They think everything is just all about power, power, power. We see countries that are disintegrating, that at some point they will now come together and have some form of power sharing. The South Africans did it, didn't they? Buthelezi and Buthelezi's people in Qatar, that freedom movement, and they were slaughtering each other. But in the end, there was a power sharing that enabled Buthelezi to become a deputy president. So this kind of thing can help, and the whole killings came to an end. These kind of things can help build a cohesive nation. But some of our selfish politicians, they don't see things that way. They just want to have things their way without thinking about the injury to the unity of the nation. And I dump my heart for Ndume for the position that he has taken.
Some of the strategies for these political parties, they are thinking of politics. They are not looking at the national cohesion. Let me start
by saying that in APC, there was a gentleman's agreement, because APC, yes, there were other tendencies like the new PDP, like some faction of ABGA, but it was the AC and CPC that formed the nucleus of the party, which was the North and the Southwest. an alliance between the North and the Southwest. And it is trite to believe that after the North have its way, then it has to come south. It is betaken that should be the position of things. But the problem we have now is that politics is about seeking power and getting it. And in a democracy, which is you have to go to where the numbers are. The PDP, for example, believes that given the number of voters in the North, it pays them more, or it makes it easier for them to win an election if they present a northern candidate. And it's likely that PDP is going to present a northern candidate. But the problem with some people, some tendencies within APC, is that if politics is about capturing power, we have to think about what our opponent is doing. That if we present if PDP presents a northern candidate and we present a southern candidate, if either by out of omission or commission, the northern voters decided to vote for a northern candidate, they will have an edge. Because according to, until we do another census, the census that is subsisting says the northerners are more than the southerners in terms of votes. So that is the problem. Now, but APC have to look at that gentleman's agreement. It will be unfair for some people to come together and then allow APC to capture power. And then the president, who is from the North, will have done 8 years. Then another will want to succeed him. It will cause problem within that party. Because now the problem with APC is that APC is between the devil and the deep blue sea. If they don't allow power to shift to the south, it may break that party.
Okay, I have a caller. Dr. Olu is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Olu.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, I want to talk to respond to what Tito just said. Now, you see, it's true that we have the North and the South. Following me? Now, we are talking about power shift. In the South, we have the Southwest and the South. The Southwest are taking 8 years. And Ashwadi once said, power is not served a la carte. Now, we know that if we should say we should throw it open, everybody that comes from the North will take over. Now, if we actually want to say power shift, we should be looking at Southeast, not Southwest. Are you following me?
Nobody has said Southwest.
I've taken his own share. Obasanjo, you know. Now, in the South,
my brother, we are even saying,
so
we are saying that
Nobody
is talking about Southwest here.
Yes, we're not even talking
Why
about
don't you just
microzoning?
listen to us? We are not even talking about Southwest here. And Undume himself, who is pushing, Undume is pushing even for Rotimi Amechi. Rotimi is like the campaign coordinator for Rotimi Amechi.
Yes, he is.
So it's not even talking about Southwest. Nobody is talking about Southwest. Nobody, for God's sake. We are talking about North-South. The argument over should it be Southwest or Southeast, nobody has brought the argument here. And if you said you are responding to me, there was no time that I mentioned Southwest. I was talking about the South. Or do you think every time I talk, I must have Southwest in mind? I don't come from the Southwest. I'm from the North.
Abi?
Yes, I'm from the North Central. We are talking about the North and South. Power, rotatory presidency between the North and the South. That is what we are talking about. And we've had a distinguished Nigerian say, no, let's not do it this way. The North has had 8 years. Let it go to the South. And I agree, whether it is Southwest or this thing, that's not the issue. That's not the bone of contention. The bone of contention is it right now for the North, for the some APC leaders to be saying now that, okay, it should not go to the South? In 1999, just to respond to what Mayor said, where the party, the dominant party, makes up its mind that this is our presidential candidate, they will work for that person. Obasanjo did not win in the Southwest.
They did not win the
It became, it did not, it was rejected. It was Olufalaye that Southwesterners voted for. But Obasanjo won on the strength of the Northern vote. Because why? People like Babangida and others, they mobilized support for him. So across the North, I was in the North at that time, I covered the election. Across the North, it was Obasanjo that people were voting for. They didn't think that, oh, he's from the Southwest. They were not thinking that, oh, our population is greater. I'm convinced that if the APC makes up its mind and says, okay, this is power shift that we want, and they let it go to the South.
But there's a small problem with that one. You know the problem?
Yes.
In 1999, the two candidates were both from the Southwest. That is the difference.
Because
the same thing will have happened.
Because the two of them are from the Southwest, then one was adopted as the Northern candidate. The problem we have now, what I'm saying is that we should prevail on the two parties for them to look at the larger interests of Nigeria to make sure that their candidate comes from the South, both parties. Because what I'm saying so is that if one party agree that the candidate should come from the South and the other party insists on the North,
it doesn't matter. In 2011, Goodluck Jonathan is from the South. In 2011, he won the election by a huge landslide. He defeated Buhari. The North, the votes of the North alone cannot win an election.
Cannot win an election, yes.
Because our constitution stipulation says.
Check the number of states that Goodluck Jonathan won, including northern states, including some states of the far north. You know, so if the party makes up its mind that this is what it wants, the party members will mobilize and support. I can tell you that a good number of people, I can even say majority of Northerners, they want power to shift. They want power to shift. We see it in their interviews. We see them saying it.
Governors.
Some of them are convinced that, look, even this security problem that they have, that if a Southerner gets there, a Southerner will do a better job. They say it. You need to listen to even interviews on some of the BBC Hausa service, and they say that they want the power to even shift. So there could be some individuals who are against it, but it does not represent the opinion of the majority.
Okay. It's an ongoing issue, and we are going to keep track on it. But however, they decide to settle, resolve this zoning issue. Now, finally, as the striking university workers and the federal government continue to tangle over unfulfilled agreements, the students caught in the crossfire are becoming despondent. Thousands of them have taken to social media to denounce the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU. Most of the students have taken to Twitter to demand an end to the lingering crisis under the hashtag #ASUU strike now. But there is no respite in sight yet. The striking university workers have declared a no pay, no work policy following threats by the government to invoke a no work, no pay policy against them. The workers, under the auspices of the National Association of Academic Technologists, NATS, said the warning strike they embarked upon is now indefinite, and laboratories, workshops, farms, and others will remain shut till government fulfills the agreement is signed out with them. Mayor.
It's so sad that this government does not value education. And it's so ironic that the ministers that are involved in negotiations with these lecturers now want to be president. They could not even solve the problem of ASUU strike, yet they want higher responsibility and become president, which to me is just a joke. Because when you have an agreement with a body, there was an agreement that was signed. And that one I don't like about this government is that there was a problem. The problem has always been there. Okay, you now sat down with these lecturers and you negotiated with them. As at the time you were going to the negotiating table, you know what you have. You know what the government could afford. You understand what I'm saying? So, if you now make promises and you sign agreements based on negotiation, which we must have put into consideration the capability of government to fulfill that agreement, it is irresponsible on the part of government to now come up at the end of the day and say that you don't have the resources to pay what you have agreed. They don't care about our kids, about our children. They don't care about them. They don't care about education in these institutions because the government signed. Before you go into negotiation, you must have been briefed about the position of government, financial position of government, and how much government can afford. So when you are going to that negotiation, I presume that you will be able to convince those people to say, look, we agree that you deserve this, but the government cannot afford what you want. This is what we could afford, and this is how we are going to progress from that point. You understand? That is what any reasonable government would do. If you work in a company and you have staff, you understand, and you are negotiating with your staff, or you want to employ a new staff, and the guy says, I want 200,000 naira. You understand? If you can't afford it as a company, you will say, oh, we cannot afford more than 100,000. But when you work for 2 years, we will increase your salary to 150,000. You understand? You will not say, oh, 200,000 naira, no problem. Start work. You give letter of appointment. Then at the end of the month, you will not tell the person,
sorry, I can't pay.
Sorry, I can't pay. We can't afford 200,000.
They are not even saying that, look, don't implement this wholesale.
Wholesale, yes.
They are saying, let's renegotiate. Because this agreement was signed since 2009. Now, since that 2009, these workers have been, academic staff have been earning the same salary. How many of us can agree to work from 2009 to this without any increment and all that? So
and
they are now
level
saying,
of inflation in 2009
let us renegotiate. You agreed. You have a memorandum of action. You agreed that, okay, you are going to do this, you are going to do this. Then you waited 6 months after. Nothing happened. At the time when they were calling off the strike in December 2020, you agreed that you are going to do this, you are going to do that. Now, ASUU is even saying no. Okay, just implement two of those items. The UTAS thing and the renegotiation of agreement reached. Come to the middle. Sit with these guys and say, okay, this agreement, this is what we can do. We cannot, you know that, oh, things are so expensive, but we can do this. Government nominated someone to sit with us on that, on the negotiation thing. Look at what the person they nominated was saying. He was attacking government.
Yeah.
Somebody that the government nominated to represent it. He was making the point that government does not honor his word. I mean, and it's wrong. Instead of just blackmailing these guys and allowing the strike to go on, these students have been at home for more than 80 days now. You know? So instead of just allowing this thing to go on, why don't you say, ASUU, we live in very lean times. Let us come together. Let us look at what we can do within our means. But you don't tell people you are going to do it and then suddenly decide that you are not doing it anymore. That was the issue that the Senate president complained about. He said, when you are negotiating, you should have borne in mind your capacity to pay.
Of course, it's irresponsible not to do that.
You cannot then suddenly say that no.
That you don't have money. How can you say you don't have money?
Because
and then this same government is the same government that is sending a bill to the National Assembly for 4 trillion to do as the scam that they claim they are doing subsidy. A government that can spend 4 trillion naira.
No, but we have to pay subsidy.
On subsidy.
We have to pay subsidy.
That's what I'm saying, but it's 4 trillion naira.
See, I don't know how much it is.
That's what they claim they want to spend.
But we must pay subsidy. If they don't pay subsidy.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that
if we don't pay subsidy, what we are going through with diesel.
No, what I'm saying is that it's priorities. If a government that can come up, a government that can, no, I'm not saying we should not pay subsidies. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it depends on your priorities. A government that can come up with
No,
4
subsidy
trillion,
payment has to be
4
priority.
trillion naira for subsidy because they believe that this is very important. The people will not accept increase in the price of petroleum products.
At least for
Life-
now.
You know, so if the
At
same
least for
government,
now.
if the same government believe that, oh, our university education is very important, we cannot allow our children to stay at home.
For those
they
who
will also
keep
come up with the
arguing-
money.
people who argue that we are so buoyant and we tell them that Nigeria is broke. This is another evidence. They just can't find the money. They just can't find the money. We have been taking loans to pay salaries of federal workers. The finance minister said it, that we have been taking money from CBN. It's a loan still. We can call it ways
Of
and
course,
means
it's
and
a
all
loan,
that.
yes,
It's a
it's
loan.
a loan,
Even
yes.
the World Bank has been telling
It's a
us
loan,
to stop
yes.
it.
It's a loan.
It's a loan.
Stop borrowing to
We
pay
are
salaries.
not,
It's just
we
domestic
look at
loan,
how
that's all.
much we are spending to service debt. We are spending over 90% of our earnings. What the revenue generating agencies, what they earn. We are spending more than 90% to service debt.
Is that not obvious?
What that
Is that not
means-
obvious that we don't know how to, that we are not running our economy?
what
well?
that means is that a time will come when we will even take loan to pay those loans if we are not careful.
Yeah.
And when somebody said the other day that they were printing money, this and that, they called him names. You know, let's not even go into that. But the thing is, these children have stayed longer at home. I pity the education, the Minister of Labor and Employment. I know that it's not in his hands. This is about money. This is about money, and he does not have power over the huge finances that will go into this. But he has to tell the truth, because everybody is blaming Ngige, blaming Ngige. Ngige knows what the problem is. Let the finance minister and Ngige, another people, sit down and say, ASUU, it's not as if we don't want to do this, but this is how far we can go. Can you please, as patriots, help us?
Back down.
Then the issue of UTAS, I can even know that at least that they can achieve a middle course. Then the issue of
That's what they should do.
UTAS.
Not that they should not collect the
No, they will,
entitlement.
no, it's not about entitlement. There are other demands that have huge financial implications
Yes.
that the ASUU has made, like issue of the revitalization of infrastructure in universities. That's a lot of money.
Yes, I have Tosin. Tosin is calling us from Oyo State, Ibadan. Good evening, Tosin. Hello, Tosin.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Our time is fast spent.
Yeah, good evening, rather. Yeah,
Good evening. Okay, go
my
ahead, please.
contribution is about the ongoing ASUU strike. Can you hear me?
Yes. Keep talking now. Don't listen to yourself. Just keep talking.
Tosin, go ahead.
Listening to and there's delay.
Because looking at it from the student angle now, as students say,
They protested today at Uniben. They protested in Ibadan too. That of Unilag, they had to stop them.
They'll be idle.
80 days.
Just take-
80 days at home.
just
That was the
to
time
cry.
that students were at
80
home
days.
more than a year. Is that the way to and you want to build your economy when you turn out to have big graduates?
It's still all about this the 2009 agreement. And let's face it, there are some steps that need to be taken if public universities are not to die. If the funding does not improve, if infrastructure is left to rot, some universities like Unilag, they have very strong alumni, they can get by, they have access to funds. But it's not every university that is that blessed. And you look at some federal universities, the funding is just not there.
And they're still creating more.
And they are creating more. So what's going
They're
on?
still creating more.
What's going on?
And yet you don't want to provide the money that you
because
use
some
to do those
politicians
things.
think that if they can bring a university to their
our
constituency,
village, yes.
that is a
My
big
name will
achievement.
never-
Whereas the ones that we have not funded them sufficiently. We have not funded them sufficiently. We think that they can make a lot of money from internally generated revenue, but that's not the
But
case.
my own belief is that if there is a will, you can fund your education. It has been done before.
But there are more universities now.
Yes, I know.
There are far
I agree
more
that.
now.
But
when
if
you
there
went
is
to
will,
school, you
if there
could
is
count
will,
all the
we will look
universities
for
on
the
your
money.
fingertips.
If we think it is important, we will look for the money.
When we were in
That's why
primary
I said
school,
because we believe that the subsidy was important, we looked for the money. Let them look for the money to be able to do our investment. Our investment should not be the way it is.
there are just too many. You know that the proliferation of university is also a problem.
Yes,
because when you have proliferation, then the issue of funding all of them will come in. When we were in primary school, we will be reciting the names of the VCs of Nigerian universities. We memorize all their names. Iya Abubakar here, Adamu Beki here in Benin. All of them. Some of those names I still remember. But that was when we didn't have that so many. But now we've politicized setting up of universities. Federal universities here, this thing here, federal university, everywhere.
Technology.
Yes. And now we can't fund them. We can't fund them. How long are these children going to stay at home? And if we are not careful, they will resort to violence.
I think we need the intervention of Mr. President to sit down with his ministers.
It's not even intervention of the president. It's under his watch. He's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So this crisis is under his watch. It's just that he has a minister that he has delegated to do it on his behalf. So it's still under his watch. So he should be bothered. He should be bothered. But the irony of everything is that most of our leaders, including Mr. President, their kids don't go to Nigerian universities. Most of their kids don't go to Nigerian universities. They send their own universities abroad, and where they pay huge amount of money.
Whose children at least went to school here. Ugige is not the one to solve the problem, because the problem here is finance.
It's finance, yes.
It's not a decision that he can take on his own. We can abuse him from now to tomorrow. He cannot. It's not.
But he's the representative of government, so we are going to hold all of them accountable as government.
Like the issue of UTAS, what is there?
Honestly.
What is there? They said just do 2. The demands are not less than 7, but they say, okay, if you do these 2, we'll go back to work. Or you are, even the 2,
why is it so difficult to do that too?
You refuse.
If they consider our education to be important to them it's not important to them. That's what I'm saying, because most of them do not have their kids in Nigerian universities.
Yeah, but they also went through these universities. Without these public universities, a lot of them would not have gone to school.
I agree.
Okay.
It's unfair.
So they should do something about it.
I'd like to thank you, Mayor Akipoli,
And look
for
for
your
the
contribution.
money.
Thank you for your contribution.
you.
I did the last count, the number of presidential aspirants is growing by the
No, we're waiting for Jide to declare. I'm surprised why he has not declared.
Before Saturday.
We are waiting for you to declare. Don't worry, we'll look for the other million.
What is still a big shock to me is that Mayor has not declared.
It's throwing it back to me.
All right, so
as if this 100 million is just 10 naira. What's wrong with these people?
the number of people.
And they're going to just
Are you
waste the 100
kidding me?
million. They're just wasting the 100 million.
You
No.
see the number of people.
I'm talking about 100 million as if it's
They're
1
just wasting the
naira.
100 million. No.
100 million.
Nigerian politicians.
They're just wasting the 100
And there's so
million.
much poverty in the land.
Poverty.
Over
So much
100
poverty.
million.
Debilitating
But go to
poverty.
these same people.
Unemployment
Crippling
30%.
poverty.
Let members of their family go to them to ask for favor. They
Asphyxiating
will tell you, where do you
poverty.
expect me to get 100 million from?
Yes, when people go to them to ask for favor, they will say,
Yes, they
no,
will say, where
they
do you
don't
expect
have
me to
it.
get 100
No. And some of them will say, even now, we'll be touching their pocket and say, that is where.
And that's our offering today. Join us for another episode tomorrow. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11, and you can join us on Sunday for Journalist Hangout on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. See you tomorrow, and God bless Nigeria.